Have you ever wanted to know more about the animation industry and just how bad it is, or how inspiring it can be? Join me as we look at Animeta. That man and his merch. Hello and welcome to That Man. That is me merchandise, and today we are looking at Animeta by Yasuo Hanamura. I hope I pronounced that right. Animeta? Animeta? Animeta. I think Animeta sounds right. This is a title by J Novel Club under their Manga line, and wow, this is one that is really worth picking up, people. Have you ever wondered what it's like to be an animator in the world of Japan? World of Japan, yes, in the land of Japan. And you've always wanted, it's been your dream goal ever since you were little, ever since you watched that one anime that really inspired you, and you need to get into it and need to pick it up and just be awesome with it and everything will be okay. Animeta really kind of kicks you in the teeth with that. Unlike, for example, Shirobako, which really cuts over that whole animation industry and makes it feel, yeah, you always kind of know that they're going to solve it all and resolve it all in the end, which it's still a great series. Animeta kind of goes a different route for this. The title follows Miyuki Sanada, who has always wanted to be an animator ever since she watched that one series about a magical girl. She's been really inspired to be an animator, and she gets a position in a high-ranking company as an in-betweener. That is the position where the frames between the keyframe. And yeah, she soon finds out that things aren't quite as easy as she expected. In fact, she gets hired with pretty much no talent whatsoever, which is something that I kind of picked up on straight away. It's like, in this cutthroat world of animating and stuff like that, why would they just hire somebody who has a lot of guts but is really bad? Well, it turns out that it looks like she's got some potential and she's got the right amount of gusto in order to make it through the stormy periods. However, things are not easy whatsoever for her, and she soon discovers that, yeah, it's not quite as bells and whistles and shining and really being nice as she originally expected. The reason being, well, animation is hard. She's got very little talent for it, and she soon discovers that how little animators get paid and the things they need to do just to survive in this industry. And this is what I loved about this series. This really throws all of the punches. It doesn't hold back whatsoever. It basically says straight away, yep, if you've got no talent, if you're very slow at it, you're not going to be able to eat. And she's just like, well, I've got some savings, and like, well, what happens when the savings runs out? At this point, you're about 5 years away from being even slightly competent at doing this. You've got no skills. Why are you here? And I really like that way of kind of pulling it across. Where we've seen other series where they're just like, oh yeah, this is an absolute amazing person, they've got all of this talent and they just wanted to prove themselves. Whereas Animated very much kind of just like, you've got no talent, what are you doing here? You're only kind of here because somebody took a shine into you, they took a liking to you, and yeah, they make it really hard for her. And that's what I liked about it, is that it has a very somber, a very proper approach to the whole animation industry. It's none of this kind of, oh well, everything will be okay if you just keep working at it. It's like, basically the reality of things are shown straight away. Now what I did like about this is that it really goes into the animation side that other series have not. For example, I already did talk about Shirobako, which is a great series, and it covers many aspects of the animation industry at more of a higher level. And yeah, as great as this is, it doesn't really kind of show the whole individual animator kind of things. It's kind of this whole of a, this is an animation company, look how good we are, look what the problems we have, this is how we're going to solve it. Whereas Animeta really kind of goes on a whole of an individual thing. It's like, yeah, this is what animators kind of make, this is what they do, and this is how they do it. And it does have a lot of really depth information points in this series, and that's what I loved about it, is that much like Bakuman and Shirobako, it does kind of say it's like, this is what this person does, this is how they do it, and this is what they do to make it better. And it very much has these little info dumps, and that's what you kind of need. You kind of need to have all of this stuff that you need to know. It's like, do you have like a peg ruler, and they're just like, oh yeah, I've got one of this, and this is what a peg ruler is. And yeah, I liked it, rather than just being like, yeah, you already know all of this information, we're just going to give it to you all at once. It really makes it, you learn, makes sure that you are aware of what's going on and how things are going to turn out with this particular thing. And I enjoyed that kind of aspect of doing it. Now, one of the issues I really had with this series is that, again, they pluck up the main character and she's just kind of like, she just gets on by a gusto alone. Because it's a manga, yeah, you've got to kind of have that little bit element of kind of thing. I mean, in reality, she probably wouldn't even get through the interview stage if she couldn't do anything. But she's kind of taking a liking to, and they're just like, yeah, we'll give it a try out. We'll give her a trial for a few months, few years. She'll just quit anyway, and if not, well, she might turn good. This is one of the kind of things that they kind of had. It's like, oh, we'll just mass hire people and see if people stick around. And I was just kind of like, yeah, how do you guys kind of make money? No, I kind of feel in this day and age there's a lot of talent, there's a lot of people aspiring to be animators, so why would they just pick out a person who has little to no skill, just on a whim, where they kind of say, well, she might turn out good someday, or I might have something kind of decent with this eventually, and say, oh, I've got a good feeling about her. And I was like, no, that's kind of not how it works. The main character, is pretty nice. I've got nothing against it. I just kind of hated the whole way of it was kind of brought out. The side characters are really interesting. This is what kind of made this series stand out for me. Much like in a lot of other series, that we kind of have a lot of the side characters are kind of just like the older people, and I always prefer it when we have an older cast of characters. I think that always tends to work a little bit well for me, and I like the ways that all the different ones kind of worked out. For example, we've got one where he's just like, he's a drunken old man and he just drinks all day, but he's actually an absolute fantastic legendary designer. We've got like the woman who's in charge of the main character, who's just kind of like, oh, I'm really good at this, but then she's like, oh, she's really obsessed with her otome games and all of that jazz, and I was just like, yeah, I like this whole extra level of stuff that we kind of have. These things of what we learn what these characters do outside of their day-to-day jobs, and we get this whole kind of little inkling of why they might have joined this animation team. We get the whole of this this legendary animated designer who was the person who inspired the main character to do stuff. I'm a little bit worried that it's going to end up as a romance, and while I don't hate romance, I kind of feel in this kind of thing it doesn't necessarily work, because the main character starts getting mysterious notes on how to improve stuff and stuff like that, and I was like, no, please don't be a romance, please don't be that story that we've already seen so many times before. I wanted to learn from her mistakes and overcome them, rather than being kind of force them through using the power of love. But that's something that I will pick up in Volume 2 and onwards. The other characters, for example, we have the one who is actually genuinely good. He's got a bit of a big head and you just want to punch him in the face because he knows he's got a big head. And the other one who's the daughter of a legendary mangaka or legendary animator, and she's just like, don't talk about my mother. And she's just like, I am not my mother. And I'm just like, yeah, you're pretty cool, but I haven't seen enough of you. I'm expecting all three of them to kind of end up having that whole thing where they're going to miss the deadline or something like that, and it kind of spirals out of control and stuff like that. It is a really great series. So far, from what I've read, the animation whole industry is something that really interests me, and we've already had the manga about making manga in Bakuman, and we've got Shirobako, which is the anime about animation. So yes, we need the manga about making anime to be good and be hard-hitting, and it does tell you these important things that you need to know. Most animators probably can't afford to eat. They can't afford to have this life of luxury because the amount of stuff they've got to do just to kind of make ends meet. It is a really interesting and dark look on the whole animation industry, whereas other things are kind of skirts around. It's like, yeah, it'll be okay, and it'll be okay as long as you've got the guts. And this is kind of like, you might have the guts, you might have the talent, but yeah, you're still probably not going to be able to afford to do anything. And that to me was something that really hit home more than anything else. As somebody who really wanted to be into the animation industry, it's kind of just like, yeah, this is a wake-up call. I mean, we already know about this kind of stuff. We hear about it all the time on the internet, but it's like, this kind of hit it home a little bit more than other things did. And I feel that if you're interested in being a mangaka or being an animator or anything like that, this is an absolute must-have read that you probably need to check out. The title is available on G-Novel Club. I actually picked it up in the Bookwalker sale a few weeks ago, so there is a few ways of acquiring it, and yes, I would definitely recommend that you check it out. If you are interested in the industry, if you're interested in how things work, definitely check it out. It's one that you are going to absolutely love, and in my opinion, it's one that everybody who is interested in the industry should read. That's it for me. Thank you for coming, and if you did enjoy this, please leave a like, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for coming, and thanks again. Goodbye.